wondering, how does this relate to my business, my creative business, my jewelry business, my product business, whatever it might be? Well, if you want to create unbreakable brand loyalty, you have to tap into what is called identity marketing. And today on the show, we're going to break down what that is. Hey there, I'm Tracy Matthews, and I help creative business owners grow their wealth and their impact doing what they love. And I'm so excited today to be digging deep into identity marketing with Veronica Romney. Veronica just released a brand new book that is insane. She's going to walk us through her framework today, and it is incredible. Get ready to understand exactly what identity marketing is. We're going to dive deep into how to get your audience to name their identity for you. We're also going to talk a little bit more of real life examples of brands who have done this so well and how you can apply this to your business today. Now, let's dive into this episode with Veronica Romney. You are going to love it. Get ready to take notes because it's that good. Welcome to the show. I'm here with my friend Veronica Romney. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Oh, I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, well, you just came out with a brand new book called Identity Marketing. I can't rattle off the tagline off the top of my head, but we're going to talk about it today. It is incredible. You are such a genius. And I remember when I met you about a year ago, I was blown away by you. You are just so generous with your time and your brilliance when it comes to marketing and in a variety of different ways, but also just like a really generous person in general. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about this new book because I've been watching all of the content you've been doing around it on social. It is going to be a game changer for anyone who has to market their business.
Thank you.
And I just love the perspective that you take. So I just want to reflect that back to you before we get started.
Well, that's very kind. And I receive that as somebody who puts words of affirmation as my number one love language. I will take it.
You will take it. I love it. Okay. So I'm going to do your little intro while you're here so you can hear how awesome you are.
Okay.
Veronica Romney is a certified master marketer, a keynote speaker, podcast host, and an author with 17 years of experience transforming marketing strategies for elite brands. A former Tony Robbins speaker and boss babe executive, she empowers teams to achieve record-breaking results. Veronica resides in North Carolina with her family. I'm excited to have you here. Let's dive into the question. So how did you, I just want to hear your background. Like, how'd you get into marketing? Like, what's the deal? Like,
well, so I knew that I was going to go into business. I'm one of those weirdos that you know how the average college student changes their major, I don't even know, 3 to 5 times. I did and didn't. I knew I was going to go into business. I thought I would be a CPA or I don't even know, just because I loved math. I'm such a weirdo. I loved AP calculus, IB calculus in high school. So then when I got to college, I'm like, oh, I'll just do that side of the business world. And then I realized statistics is fake math and accounting's actually the worst. And I have way too much personality to be behind a spreadsheet all day, as much as I do love data. I don't really want to be in a cube all day long. But because of not being able to secure a finance internship, the only one that I could find was a marketing internship. It changed my life because I was like, this is fun. Because, marketing it's art and science. You have to be data centric. You can't fly this plane without understanding how far you're off the ground, so to speak. But there's so much creativity and intuition and listening and immersing yourself in the people that you seek to attract. And so I loved it, changed my major, and I've been a marketer, now almost 20 years. I haven't deviated from marketing other than my marriage. It's the longest relationship I've ever been in. However, not to compare myself to Taylor Swift, but I've had some eras. So yes, I identify proudly as a marketer, but I've had versions of it. And so I have been in-house. I've been a chief marketing officer. I've been a director. I've been, a W-2 employed marketer. I've been a marketing entrepreneur and marketing agency owner, a speaker, and now as of literally January 2025, a marketing author, which is a wild appendage to my own identity. I certainly didn't identify as an author in any way as a writer. But I've spent an extraordinary amount of time and energy and money to do so, to have this book in your hands. And I think that was the whole point of the book, is the wallet achieves what the mind believes. And so here we are.
Exactly. And so I know a little bit about your genius when it comes to marketing because I've heard you speak.
Sure.
We were on stage together. Why identity marketing?
Oh, that's a really good question. It's so funny because I feel again, I think as a woman, we are more inclined to be using our intuition. And so, like, intuitively, I've been using identity for years in a lot of my programs that I ran called the Rainmaker Residency programs. I was helping marketers become rainmakers. I was helping
Mm,
CEOs not be chief everything officers, but to
yes.
be visionaries and founders, and to have a visionary KPI, and to be a mission messenger. Like, I was upgrading both my CEOs so that they didn't sabotage their
Mhm.
CMOs. But chief marketing officers was such an inflated title. So I'm like, but like, I really pride myself on being a rainmaker, and it's way more fun. And there's like a vibe to that. And it was the Slack channel name when I worked at Boss Babe as chief of staff, because they had
I
some
love it.
serious cultural issues. So we gave every department fun names, team names. And so ours was like the Rainmakers. That was the marketing department. And so I had been doing this for years. And I feel like in a lot of the messaging that I would put forward, it would speak to somebody's self actualization. Like, who are you? But more importantly, who do you wish to become? Which is,
Mhm.
again, identity, identity, identity. And so I've been doing it for a really long time. But it wasn't until my sister actually got diagnosed with breast cancer in October 2023. And I watched her identity change from nothing to do with cancer to now I'm a cancer patient. I'm a
Mm,
cancer fighter. And now we're on the other side. She's a cancer survivor. Hallelujah. But watching her identity change, watching all of our identities change when somebody so close to you, so young, has such an aggressive form of cancer. Like, I didn't even know she was going to make it through the year, kind of thing.
wow.
And so I wrote identity on my mirror, because I'm one of those weirdos that likes to put me, messages on mirrors in my bathroom.
I
And so I
have
wrote
them.
the word identity. And then, like, I think because I personally was going through it, and then it was being reflected in the work that I was doing, it just became so obvious. And then weeks later, months later, it became Identity Marketing, the book. So
Right.
here we are. It's wild.
That's awesome. It is so wild. Can you just explain, just in layman's terms, what identity
Yeah.
marketing
Ooh,
means? Because
with
I think
joy.
that some people might not really understand what that means.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I
it's
understand
fair.
it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you hear the word identity, you often think of brand identity, right? So let's
Yeah.
define brand identity too, because that is the most common usage of that term in this world that I'm a
Mhm.
part of. Brand identity is your external effort to differentiate yourself from everybody else, right? It's
Mhm.
your website colors, it's your logo and your typography and your brand voice and your tone. And it's you in control of the gift wrapping that is your brand, your products, your services, your offer, especially if you're a personal brand. Like, that is brand identity. And it's wildly important. We're not replacing it,
Yeah.
but it's all focused on who? Me. Like,
Yep.
I'm the brand. I'm in control of this narrative. I'm controlling it. Identity marketing has nothing to do with you. It starts with the consumer, with the buyer, with the
Mm,
person who you seek to serve and sell. When I say that, what I mean is, like, your person, the person you're trying to attract and then hopefully end up working with, it's who they see themselves to be, who they are, what they say about themselves, what they call themselves, how they want to be remembered, the things that they do to affirm that sense of self and identity. So I define identity marketing as connecting your brand so deeply with your consumer's identity, who they are and who they wish to become, that they
wow.
will literally be buried in your brand.
Wow. So you're
Yeah.
basically like leveling up your consumers. Wow, this
Yes.
can help on so many different types
So
of
many.
businesses. So can
Yes.
we dive deep into like maybe some examples of what that might
Yeah.
look like for
I
different
love.
types of businesses? Do you
Yeah.
love? Okay.
It's so fun just because I think, one, we tell really fun, sexy examples. We talk about Barbie having a financial comeback of the ages because of realizing that it was never supposed to be about stereotypical Barbie's identity.
Mm,
It was always supposed to be about the identity of a little girl having the potential to be more than just a housewife, right?
yeah.
So we have that fun example of a comeback story. We have fun examples of, well, I don't know if you could call this fun. It's very impressive that families will have personally commissioned private caskets to be made in Harley Davidson logos and colors,
Oh, yes.
so that their loved ones who do not identify as a Harley Davidson buyer, they identify as a Harley Davidson hog and wish to be buried as a hog. And so we tell the story about how Harley Davidson was able to achieve the level of devotion as, I mean, like world religions, and a practice that
Mhm.
dates 120,000 years ago, which is
Right.
crazy. But we also, it's really important to me. I didn't want to just write a book for Fortune 100 companies like, okay,
Yeah.
Barbie and Taylor Swift and her Swifties and the hogs of Harley Davidson. Like, I really wanted to put together a book and a framework, more importantly, that spoke to small business owners, to spoke to an air conditioning contractor like my parents were for 33 years. It
Right.
spoke to me as a solopreneur. It spoke to a brand designer, a personal brand, a small business owner. Like, we have all of those spread throughout the book because it's really important to me that literally anybody at any size can
Mhm.
leverage the psychology of identity, because it's exactly
Right.
what it is. It's psychology.
Okay, so let's talk about that framework.
Okay, that's fun. So it's, 400 steps. No, just kidding. That would be, can you imagine? Can you
Oh my
imagine?
gosh,
No.
I'm like, if it's more than 3 steps.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, sometimes, I think in an effort to be smart or appear smart, you overcomplicate things. And really,
Yeah,
marketing is way more simplistic.
it
The
is
longer
simple.
that I do this, the more I'm like, man, I think I'm a marketing purist. Keep it pure. Marketing is listening and repeating. Marketing is more
Mhm.
simplistic than I think a lot of people understand. And so we actually created a four step framework specifically. Only 4 steps is necessary for you to
Sounds
be
good.
able to find a marketable identity, prove it, name it, and dress it to have the results that a Barbie and a Harley and a Taylor would have.
So is it find, prove, name, and dress? Those are the
Yes.
4 steps. Okay.
Find, prove, name, and dress.
Can we break those down a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, if you are already in business or exist, or there's somebody already that's doing what you're doing or serving who you're serving, the identity has already been made because people can't help themselves. We self label without even trying. We will literally give ourselves names before a brand ever will. Swifties wasn't made by Taylor. That was the people that called themselves Swifties before she ever acknowledged it. Harley Hogs was created by the people. Like, literally, a group of Harley
Okay.
Davidson riders would win these races and tie an actual hog, an actual pig to the back of the bike and like do circles to celebrate. And then years, decades later, the brand was like, "Ooh, let's have this meet Harley's owners group." Then they took ownership of this moniker, but the people had been calling themselves hogs for years. So more oftentimes than not, like, when you are doing what you're doing, people will start saying identity affirming, identity oriented language. You just have to find it. And I think
Okay.
sometimes we think as marketers that we have to be the clever ones, but there's so many examples in the book of like Pepsi Generation and Budweiser Bro Code, like, where it never took, even though it had a ton of marketing capital and budget behind it, it still didn't take. The people are the ones that get to decide if they adopt an identity or not. You can't shove an identity down somebody's throat. So we start with you doing a secret shopper analysis with an identity lens to see if you can find your marketable identity, because your people will already want to be called something.
So let's say in the terms of like a fashion or a jewelry line, like how would you
Yes.
go about that?
Well, okay, if they're already an existing business, even more fun. Like, I would literally want you to socially stalk yourself. You're going to go through your, Instagram comments, you're going to go through the Facebook group comments or YouTube live comments, you're going to go through your sales call transcripts if you do sales calls, right? Like, you're going to go in your customer survey reviews or feedback, or if you had an event, go back through the form that the guests left. Like, you're basically hunting. And I think more times than not, people will do this and call it an audit, like, oh, I'm auditing myself and what I look like on the internet. Okay, that's really good. I think you should do that. But oftentimes when you're doing that to see if they like you. Like, you're still
Hmm.
very brand centric. Like, do they like me? What are they saying about me? And I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with you yet. Before we do brand identity or brand rebrands, we have to start with identity marketing. So when I'm secret shopping your web presence, your online presence, or your footprint, I'm looking for what they're saying about themselves. What is a jewelry maker saying about herself? What is a small business owner saying about who she is, but who she wishes to become? Whether it's positive or negative, I'm looking for identity affirming or not language around how she sees herself or who she wishes to become in this world that she's a part of. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes. Okay, so we're finding who that is. We're
Hmm.
scrolling through our comments. We're
Yes.
trying to understand who they want to become, who they want to be,
Yes.
who they're showing up in the
Yes.
world. Now, how do we
Yes.
prove this
Yeah.
identity?
So This happened to us. So one of the things that we do, if you buy the book for $25, you can have a how-to framework and self-implement. Like that was really important to me. Like go forth and do.
Yeah.
If you want to do it with the accompaniment of myself or my team, so you're having your homework checked, so to speak, or you're working out with a trainer versus by yourself, we do a 2-day virtual workshop. So one of our clients that went through the workshop with us, first of all, it's a mom-run business. It's called Talkbox.mom. They teach families how to speak foreign languages the same day they buy the box of language, which is a pretty bold claim. But when they were going through the secret shopper kind of experience, a lot of the words that came up was like, obviously talking, but a lot of it was like fluency, family. And then the word bilingual came up a lot. This is why this is so critical that we do the prove it step. Because even though bilingual came up a lot in the finding exercises, when we moved it through the prove it step, we realized that bilingual was actually too intimidating of an identity. I'm telling you this, Tracy, I'm 100% Latina.
Yeah.
I am born and raised of Cuban immigrant parents. Spanish was my first language, and I even pause and hesitate to tell somebody that I'm bilingual because I'm terrified they're going to make me like prove it. Because like, what if I can't conjugate the grammar correctly? What if I have the wrong tense? Like I start to panic that when I think of bilingual, I think that I can not only communicate, but I can read and I can write and I can like pass as if I was speaking in English and writing in English. And
Right.
Talkbox.mom doesn't do that. They could care. They don't care at all if you can pass a grammar test, if you can write, if you can read. They care about fluency. It's like little children. Like little children don't know grammar, but they know how to speak a language because they start repeating the language of their parents. So
Right.
even though bilingual came up a lot, and you think, okay, let's make bilingual families the identity, or bilingual, brew, or like anything clever. What we realized is that bilingual was too intimidating, and therefore it was a detraction, right? Where if we focused on the fluency family identity as opposed to the Talkbox mom identity, which is the name of the company, but if we focused on the family and their aspiration to become fluent so they can go to Mexico when they learn Spanish as a family vacation or reward, that was more aspirational of identity than just bilingual. That's why we have to prove things.
Okay. I love that. So what are they called? They
Yeah.
call the fluency.
Yeah, so they're going with Fluency Family, and that's going to lead to a brand new podcast. That's going to lead to actually, think
Ooh,
about
I
it
love
this
it.
way. The company name is Talkbox.mom. And yes, the mom definitely is the buyer. Hands down, it's the mom who's making the majority of the buying decisions to take this on as an investment for the family. But her aspiration is not individualistic. She's not doing it so that she can speak Spanish. She's doing it that her family can speak Spanish. So that was really interesting because now that we brought in the identity of the people, how many other companies are not just in the service of mom, but they're in the service of family? So it actually expanded their collaboration opportunities. They're a WeBank certified organization. So like how many government agencies are deploying families in countries where they don't speak the native language, that could also be a partnership with. So like it just became this highway of possibility with the expansion of this identity.
Okay. I love it. Okay. So
Isn't that
now
cool?
we
Yeah.
found out we're doing the research,
We're doing it.
proving
We
the
prove it.
idea.
And now we have to
And
name
then we
it.
named it.
Okay. I
Okay.
know that seems obvious because I'm like, yeah, Veronica, you just said fluency, family, like done. No. The last thing that I was going to do was write a book where I was going to teach people how to do shallow marketing, gimmicky marketing. This really bothers me. So I knew that there needed to be depth and like really intentional depth to a name, because even when I like had birth and I was like, oh, this is James and this is Miles, the next intuitive or even curiosity provoking question from my friends and family is like, well, why'd you name him James and why'd you name him Miles this? And I'm like, people want to understand the meaning behind my dog's name, let alone a kid's name, let alone an entire community's name. So
Mm-hmm.
name it goes beyond just the obvious surface level name. It's really like, what does it mean to be a fluency family? What does it mean to be a Swiftie? What does it mean to be a hog? What does it mean to be a 92 percenter or a Philadelphia bird or the Chiefs Kingdom?
Right.
Like there's so many really fun examples. But when I tell people or I wear something and I'm showing you my faith, Like, what does that mean to be Catholic? What does that mean to be an
Right.
entrepreneur? What does it mean to be a mother? And so we're going to give depth and meaning to the name that we have found, we have validated, and now we're going to give it a whole context, a house of context. It's going to have a philosophy. It's going to have a slogan. It's going to have non-negotiables. It's going to have a birth story. It's going, like, we give it proper foundational context for what it is and what it means to be a part of this.
Okay, amazing. I love
Yeah.
it. So when I think of that, I think of like developing um, in my language, like the desired brand effect, which is the
Oh,
book
I'm
that I
sure.
wrote. Like your branding principles, like your core
Yeah.
values, like what you stand
Yeah.
for, like who,
Yeah.
like these are the pillars and stakes in the
Mm-hmm.
ground that make
Mm-hmm.
us the
But
brand story,
again,
all of it, right?
not just about the brand, but again, about the identity of the people who will be buried in such brand theoretically, right? Like, so what does it mean if I go to the grave identifying as a hog? Like, why is that important?
Okay. Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. It's taking it,
Mm-hmm.
putting it on the consumer.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, I love this. All right. And then let's talk about, is that where the dressing part or is that different?
Yes.
Okay.
No, so dress is like it's the cherry on top. It's the whipped cream and the frosting. So we have this beautiful foundation of context and meaning and purpose. And like I want to be a shrimper. I want to be a jeeper. I want to be a Call Her Daddy gang member because I love that podcast or whatever, right? But now I want it to come to life. And we see this in marketing actually quite often done so well. Like I think about like Flo from Progressive. She's not real, but she's real. Or like Mayhem. Mayhem is a concept that would require insurance, but Mayhem has a really fun place in this like advertising and marketing space,
Mhm.
right? So to be a Swiftie, like if I told you like picture a Swiftie, what do you see?
Just like a young girl,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
at everything.
Sparkles,
Yeah, sparkles to
friendship
my little niece,
bracelets.
like half of her class wears
Exactly.
for,
Exactly. Right?
for Halloween.
Sequence.
Yep.
Kindness, like they're going around sharing their bracelets, they're singing, they're dancing, they're playing, right? If I say, okay, close your eyes and picture a Kansas City Chief fan, like, okay, they're decked in red and yellow and like it's, they painted their face. So like I want it was really important to me that we basically dress the identity as if it was a walking, talking, real thing, not just a concept.
Okay.
So it's basically leveraging the power of personification. You're personifying something
Mhm.
intangible, but making it feel so wildly tangible because and then what's really cool about that exercise is that eventually becomes swag that you give to people, or that becomes merch, or it becomes this. Like people, I can't even tell you how many times people will ask us for like Rainmaker stuff in the red, or people will be shopping and they'll DM me on Instagram, be like, I found your color at Marshall's. Can I send it to you? And they've literally sent me clothing in my color, right? Like
Oh,
it's really
really?
amazing. Yeah, like it's really cool to
So
see
cool.
people like want to dress, want to signify, or what Seth Godin says, they want to show their religion
Right.
by showing you their brand, which is again why they're buried in a Harley Davidson casket in their riding leathers. And so that's what the dressing part is.
I love that. I love it so much. Okay. Now, if someone really wants to tie this together and
Yeah.
pull this through and make it work
Yeah.
for them, like where do they go? Not just to buy your book, because I have some more
Oh,
questions
yeah.
before we do that.
That's
Like,
sweet.
how do
Yeah.
you start like moving this forward in your
Yeah.
business?
Yeah, I get the question I got the most even yesterday when I did one of my identity marketing experiences, which is like me delivering a keynote and like performing identity marketing.
Hmm.
The question I got was like, where do I start today? I'm like, oh, such a good. Again, when I get a question like that, I'm like, you little action taker, you like I just could kiss you on the mouth. I just love that. I'm such an execution person, so like when people
Yes.
desire to take action in their inspiration, I'm like, you're my people. So yes, you can buy the book on identitymarketingbook.com. Like we give you all the links and we give you so many resources. We even give you a quiz that it's 5 questions that will tell you which chapters to read in the order that's best suited for where you're at in your business. So we've made it even easier to navigate 35,000 words, right?
Yes.
But if I were to start right now, if I'm listening to this podcast, I'm like, I'm really jamming on this. Like, yes, to not having it be so much about me and having it be way more about the person I'm trying to like serve and sell. I'm here for this. Then I want you to pretend like you're a social anthropologist or like this investigative journalist. Like I need you to entrench, like I literally like become immersed in the tribe of the people you seek to take care of. And the reason, and they're like, well, V, I've already done that. I have like this 30-page document on my ideal customer avatar. I'm like, stop. No, you haven't. Or if you did, I can almost guarantee that it's no longer relevant. And the reason that I say that is the person who's going through the biggest rebrand of their life right now is not you and your business, which I think a lot of us feel like we need to do that because of hello 2024.
I know.
It's actually the buyer. Your consumer, your
Mhm.
buyer is actually going through the biggest rebrand of their life. You think about it. We collectively were forced through a pandemic. We can't pay for anything. Eggs, house, car, what? Gas. We went through a stifling political atmosphere here in the US, and that affects everybody globally anyways, but like we were screamed at, who are you voting for? Where do you stand? You're like, oh my gosh, right? Like think about whether you were forced into a rebrand, either collectively, like we all have, or personally, like who I am after my sister's breast cancer diagnosis, how I see my level of fitness is no longer powered by vanity, if I'm being honest. It's now sourced because I want to live to 100 and I cannot leave my two boys alone. Like
Yeah.
I longevity is fueling my fitness,
Exactly.
not vanity. But that happened because of my sister. So like even if you think you understand your person, I will tell you right now that their identity has gone through an evolution, whether forced or sought. And if you don't understand that, the real source of how they identify, then your marketing messaging will never fully talk to them in a way that they are seen.
I think that is like the biggest takeaway beyond like
Oh,
the identity stuff from this entire interview, because this is like a
preach.
collective thing. Everyone is reinventing themselves
Man.
right now. And
Yes,
I don't know if you know this, but I'm launching a program called The Art of Reinvention.
this is very suiting. This is perfect timing for you then.
that's happening, this March. And it's actually like what I needed to hear, because it's
Yeah.
like people are stepping into this new
Yeah.
identity themselves. We have to understand what that
100%.
looks like for them.
Yeah.
And I feel like
And
it's so
it's,
much deeper than just a rebrand. It's like a
thank you.
complete
Thank
overhaul
you.
of like how you're showing up in the world, and like your message and what you're serving. Like when I visualize it, I don't like the idea of like a phoenix rising, just because it feels so masculine and like,
Sure.
you
Yeah, you're
know,
burning something. Yeah.
hardcore. But I kind of coined this term like hummingbird rising, because it's like this hummingbird like
Mm,
coming out of like
I love that.
the flames. There's a whole story
Yeah.
around it from
And
that.
we're going through it. Like we are all going through, you can call it what you want to call it. You want to call it, a pivot, you want to call it a rebrand, the point is that like I do 2024 was something very fascinating to me. Like it just was a really interesting year for business owners. It was a very interesting year, not just in the entrepreneurial space. My husband is fully employed. He's a VP of sales of a very successful software company, and they're in it. And we're seeing A players exit out of companies, not forced out, choosing to get out because they're like, I'm done. This is not how I want to live my life. It's
Wow.
something is happening where a lot
There
of us are
is.
like, is this who I want to be? Is this really the life I wish to live? And it's not just in the online space, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And I think, again, it's not that I threw out all of my values come January 1st, 2024. I still highly prioritize how I look and my health, and that's all, and like being a mother and this and that. But the source or the why or the deeper meaning behind some of those things that I hold to be true has changed or has magnified, or does, you know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
when I tell you to immerse yourself in the people, don't just ask, why is it important to you that you were successful in your business this year? Because whatever answer they give you, you take that answer and you pose it in the second question. Why is it important that you just said that? And you keep going 7, 8, 9 levels deep. And you basically frame the answer for the question as the question for the next one. And you keep going until you really get to the basement of what's happening.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see the market going in the next 4 or 5 years?
Okay. I know it was very disheartening when everybody stopped buying. It felt like everybody stopped buying, or they
It
took
felt
forever to
like it
buy.
did. I think a lot of people are experiencing this right now.
Yeah, they took forever to buy. So if your sales cycle before was like 14, 28 days, now it feels like 6 months. Like, dude, or like 2 years. Like you've been on my email list for 2 years. Like why? Like what's happening, right? So either they're not buying at all, or they're taking so long to buy, or they want to buy something super cheap, but you're like, but it's only. So I know that that was wildly disheartening, and it's honestly because people have been hurt and deceived and lied to and manipulated. And that was because everybody had a lot of discretionary income and stuck at home, and people were just spending like crazy and entering a new space. And they didn't realize that not everybody is who they say that they are. Okay. So here we are. We have a group of buyers who are no longer, I don't want to say immature, but just as trusting as they once were. They are more discerning. Distrust is officially the number one sentiment of a buyer society, meaning I will look at negative reviews before I will ever look at a positive review. I will purposely go to Amazon and filter low reviews before looking at high reviews, or a restaurant, because I want to really know what the dirt is, not just like the nice ones that maybe you paid for. So this is a fact, right? Distrust is the number one buyer sentiment right now. And I know, again, it feels deflating or really concerning, but I will tell you, when you are the real one, the real deal, when somebody has done their Sherlock Holmes research, you win. You win, you win, you win. And so the biggest thing that I can tell people is like, be consistent. That's like probably the one thing that I will tell somebody is like, try to be as consistent as possible. So like I'm screaming from the mountaintops, identity marketing, identity marketing, identity marketing. If in 30 days, I'm like, you know what, not identity marketing, it's this marketing, what would that do? Right? Like not that I'm not allowed to reinvent myself, not that I'm not allowed to have a new album come out, because like, hello, but it's just how much consistency do you have in your convictions? I do think that people gravitate to really strong convictions, not strong personalities. I'm not saying that you have to be over the top obnoxious. A conviction that can't be shaken. People are being shook. So if you're the provider who appears to be shaking too, I'm not coming to you in a crisis. So I just think that like the real ones are, I think small business owners in 2025 are probably the best positioned right now to gain from a discerning buyer base, because we're the best ones to be in a high proximity intimacy capacity where big companies cannot. And I think people are craving that. They want to get close. They want to see if you really smell, feel like I thought you would, and then I'm all in. And so just keep doing that. Understand that.
So if someone is in a pivot and they're going in a completely different direction, like,
totally.
I mean,
love
actually
it.
I have my existing business, but I am launching a brand new program and it's a first. And I'm literally an expert in this because it's exactly what I've been doing.
You've earned it.
I've earned it for myself. I've done it 5 times. I've been through this process that I'm teaching 5 times myself. And also I've helped 9,000 jewelry business owners do the same thing, just in a different kind of scale. How do you recommend someone who's opening up to, this is a self-serving question, I'm just going to be honest, but like opening up to a brand new market, where they're not known, you build that trust when there's not, there's no positive or negative reviews about it yet. So hopefully there aren't ever going to be any negative reviews.
No, I hear what you're saying. Like I'm at ground zero, brand new album, right?
Yes.
So here's the fun thing about marketing and social equity and personal brand equity is that nothing is ever wasted, even if you decide to come out with new work, a body of work. Mm-hmm. So how long have you been a business owner? How long have you been a mentor? How long have you been in a process of evolution? How long have you got, like you just said it, you just flexed really well. You're like, I've done this 5 times in some way. I think the worst advice that I've heard is when you're coming out with a new thing, stop talking about the old thing. No, sister, no, no, don't do that. Make the connection. I did all of this. I did all of this well. I've cut my teeth. I've earned my stripes. I have paid my dues. And this now is this, and this is why. Like, you have to build the bridge between the past and the future. Don't just pretend like none of that happened so that you're confusing. No, bridge it for them. Bridge it for me so I understand.
Okay. I love it. That was super helpful. I told you you're a genius.
Well, I have a good example. My parenting coach, who I'm going to see later today because I need some help. She has been a former pediatrician, an actual PhD doctor, pediatrician, has an office, and she retired. And now she's a parenting coach. It would be the stupidest thing on the planet if she did not tell me, her prospective customer, that she has 3-4 decades of MD experience in the pediatric world who is now taking what she knows about the actual chemistry of your body, of your children's bodies and physicality,